Sound, hollow wind whistling, faint cracking of ice echoing through heavy silence, visual wide aerial of endless glaciers under a pale blue sky, cracks spreading across the frozen surface like veins. For centuries, we mistook ice for stillness, but glaciers are not statues. They are slow rivers that move, mountains that breathe, and libraries that remember. They carve valleys, give birth to rivers, and lock away stories older than civilization itself. In their depths lie records of storms, droughts, and vanished atmospheres, written in frost and silence. Sound, deep creak of ice fracturing, echoing like distant thunder. Visual, time-lapse of a glacier advancing, then calving into the sea with a violent crash. When a glacier moves, it does not ask permission. Blocks the size of skyscrapers collapse into the ocean, birthing waves that swallow coasts. The fall is sudden, but the journey is ancient. Each frozen layer is a page in Earth's diary, snow pressed into stone, bubbles of air holding the breath of vanished worlds. Some layers record volcanic ash from Krakatoa, others the faint trace of industrial soot from the dawn of factories. In ice, history is preserved, not in ink, but in frozen air. Sound, dripping water, faint rush of hidden streams. Visual, close-up of melting ice, droplets falling into a roaring glacial river. But ice does not only preserve, it vanishes. Glaciers shrink, polar caps retreat, rivers once fed for millennia grow uncertain. Entire nations depend on water locked in ice, and when the locks break too quickly, floods come first, then droughts. In the Himalayas, glaciers feed the Ganges, the Brahmaputra, the Yangtze arteries of Asia. In the Andes, the Quelkai ice cap shrinks year after year, threatening those who rely on its meltwater. These frozen reserves are the invisible lifeblood of billions, and their retreat is a warning carved in loss. Sound, thunderous crash of ice collapsing into sea. Visual, a massive ice shelf fracturing, waves scattering chunks into open water. When Larsen Sea broke apart, it released 1 trillion tons of ice into the Xi'an iceberg the size of a country. When Thwaites, the so-called Doomsday Glacier in Antarctica, shows cracks, scientists fear a collapse that could raise seas by meters. The spectacle of icebreaking is dramatic, but the story is longer. The slow surrender of fortresses that once stood immovable, now undone by warmth. Sound, low rumble, polar wind carrying faint static. Visual, aurora erupting in green and violet over a vast frozen plain, reflected in icy lakes. Yet cold is not only threat, it is wonder. The aurora paints polar skies with shifting veils of color, born from solar storms colliding with Earth's shield. Beneath the surface, ice caves glow in ghostly blue, carved into crystal cathedrals where light refracts into otherworldly hues. In the deep ocean, Brinicles' icy fingers of death descend silently, freezing starfish and sea urchins mid-crawl. The frozen world is not lifeless. It breathes, but its rhythm is measured in centuries instead of seconds. Sound, solemn choir blended with rushing wind. Visual, a frozen mammoth revealed by melting permafrost, tusks and hair still intact. From thawing tundra, secrets rise. Mammoths, whose eyes once saw ice-age skies, seeds older than pyramids, even microbes sealed for tens of thousands of years. Melting is not only loss, it is resurrection. The past does not stay buried. In the thaw, time returns, and it whispers warnings. What once froze may wake again. Siberian legends tell of spirits trapped in ice. Today, scientists wonder whether ancient viruses, locked away for millennia, could emerge once more. Sound, blizzard roaring, muffled heartbeat. Bass. Visual, an expedition team walking through a whiteout storm, dwarfed by towering ice cliffs. For explorers, the frozen world is a frontier of beauty and danger. Winds cut like knives, cold drops low enough to still breath. Whiteouts erase horizon and sky until up and down blur. Yet here, scientists drill ice cores miles deep, seeking truth. Inside those cylinders of frost lie records of atmospheres stretching back 800,000 years. They reveal ancient droughts, forests that vanished, and the fingerprints of our own age etched in rising carbon. Ice does not lie, it testifies. Sound, rapid chipping, metallic clink of tools on ice. Visual, close-up of ice cores glowing under lab light, layers visible like rings in a tree. Each band tells a story. Volcanic winters when ash dimmed the sun, meteors that rattled oceans, civilizations that rose in warm centuries and fell in cold ones. Some layers capture the younger Dryas, a sudden freeze that reshaped human migration. Others capture the Industrial Revolution, soot blackening ice that had been pure for millennia. In every band lies evidence of cycles, interruptions, and warnings. Sound, howling polar winds, faint thunder of shifting shelves. Visual, a Greenland coastal town dwarfed by a towering iceberg drifting offshore. When the great ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica fracture, seas rise, coastlines redraw themselves. New York, Miami, Jakarta, Shanghai, cities of millions stand on borrowed time. Island nations like the Maldives or Kiribati may vanish entirely beneath the waves. Venice, Amsterdam, and coastal Bangladesh could see centuries of culture drowned. The frozen giants seem immovable, yet they are fragile, and their fall shakes the world. Sound, faint dripping, echo inside cavern. Visual, vast ice cave glowing blue, stalactites stretching down like claws of time. Yet even in fragility, ice sculpts valleys where fertile soil gathers. It feeds rivers that sustain forests, farms, and generations. Without ice, the Nile, the Amazon, the Mekong would not flow as they do today. Ice has shaped not just landscapes, but civilization itself. Ancient myths spoke of Ymir, the frost giant, from whose body the Norse gods shaped the world. Even then, humanity sensed that ice was both a beginning and an end. Sound, shimmering tones, auroral static. Visual, aurora sweeping across the sky, icebergs glowing faintly beneath the lights. There is poetry in the frozen world. Light bends into colors unseen elsewhere. Silence carries more weight than stone. To stand on ancient ice is to stand on the memory of the planet. Yet memory is melting. As glaciers retreat, they uncover landscapes unseen in tens of thousands of years. Valleys, rivers, even ancient forests that once thrived before humans walked the earth. Sound, somber strings, slow percussion building. Visual, time-lapse of glaciers retreating, side by side with crowded coastal cities. In the Anthropocene, the age of humans, ice is no longer only nature's story. It is ours. Our smoke and fire reach the poles, etched forever in ice layers awaiting future eyes. Satellites track every fracture, every meltwater lake forming on the Greenland ice sheet, every iceberg drifting into shipping lanes. We have become authors of a book we cannot control, and the chapters we write in carbon and heat will not fade quickly. Sound, thunderous roar of calving glacier, crashing waves. Visual, colossal ice wall collapsing into the ocean, waves racing outward. The frozen giants are stirring. The Arctic warms 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. Antarctica fractures, birthing icebergs the size of nations. Each collapse is not distant, echoes through rising seas, shifting storms, uncertain harvests. In 2010, an iceberg 4 times the size of Manhattan broke away from Greenland, drifting silently into the North Atlantic. Imagine 1,000 more. Sound, blizzard fading, sudden hush of snow. Visual, Inuit village on the edge of melting sea ice. Hunters guiding sled dogs across fragile ground. For the Inuit and other Arctic peoples, ice is not abstract. It is road, hunting ground, barrier, and shield. When it thins, traditions fracture. When it disappears, identities are forced to move. The frozen giants do not only shape climate, they shape culture, belief, survival. Sound, soft snow falling, muffled wind. Visual, a lone figure standing on an endless ice plain. Aurora, shimmering above, breath fogging in the cold. For millennia, humans feared fire, thunder, storms. But ice is the quieter force. It reshapes in centuries, rebuilds in ages. Yet today, its silence is breaking. The frozen world is not vanishing quietly. It is groaning, collapsing, warning. Sound, fading wind, distant hum of aurora. Visual, Earth from orbit, white poles glowing, auroras dancing along the curve of the planet. The glaciers move, the ice breathes, and neither is finished with us.